Ecclesiastes chapter 4, Futility of Human Labor. Again, I looked and saw all the oppressions that are done under the sun, and behold, I saw the tears of the oppressed, but they have no comforter. Power is in the hand of their oppressors, but they had no comforter. So I considered the dead who are already dead more fortunate than the living who are still alive. Yet better than both is one who has not yet been, who has never seen the evil work that is done under the sun. Then I saw that all the toil and all the skill that is done come from man's envy of his neighbor. This too is fleeting and striving after the wind. The fool holds his hands together and eats his own flesh. Better is a handful of tranquility than 2 handfuls of toil and striving after the wind. Again I saw something futile. Under the sun there is one who has no one else, neither son nor brother, yet there is no one to end all his toil. His eyes are not content with riches, so from whom am I toiling and depriving myself to prosperity? This too is meaningless, a grievous task. 2 are better than 1. 2 are better than 1 because they get a good return for their effort. For if they fall, the one will lift up his companion. But oi to the one who falls and has no one to lift him up. Furthermore, if 2 lie together, then they can be warm. Will be warm. How can one keep warm alone? Though a man's might overpower one, 2 can stand against him. Moreover, a threefold cord cannot be quickly broken. Better is a poor but wise youth than an old and foolish king who no longer knows how to take warning. For he came out of prison to become king, though he was born poor in his kingdom. I considered all the living that walk under the sun, as well as next to the youth who stands in his place. There is no end to all the people, to all who were before him, all to those who will come later, and will not rejoice in him. Surely this too is meaningless and striving after the wind. Watch your words before God. Watch your feet when you go to the house of God. Draw near and listen, rather than to offer the sacrifice of fools, for they do not know what they are doing wrong. Ecclesiastes chapter 5. Do not be quick with your mouth, nor hasty in your heart to utter a word in God's presence. For God is in heaven, and you are on earth. Therefore let your words be few. As a dream comes with excessive burden, so a fool's voice with too many words. When you swear a vow to God, don't delay in fulfilling, for he takes no delight in fools. Pay what you vow, for it is better for you not to vow than to vow and not pay. Don't let your mouth lead your flesh to sin, and don't say before the messenger it was a mistake. Why should God be angry at your voice and destroy the work of your hands? Many dreams and many words are meaningless, therefore fear God. Bureaucratic oppression. If you see the oppression of the poor, the perversion of justice and righteousness in the province, do not be shocked at the matter, for one authority watches over another authority, and higher ones are over them. Though the profit of the land is taken by all, a king is served by the fields. Futility of wealth. A lover of money never has enough money, and a lover of wealth is never satisfied with his income. This too is futile. When goods increase, so do those who consume them. So what advantages are they to the owner, except he sees it with his own eyes? The sleep of the laborer is sweet, whether he eats little or much. But with the excess of the rich permits him no sleep. There is a grievous wrong that I have seen under the sun, wealth hoarded by its owner to his own hurt, or wealth lost in a bad investment, and when he fathers a son, there is nothing in his hand. As he came from his mother's womb naked, he will return as he came. He takes nothing from his labor that he can carry in his hand. This too is a grievous wrong. Just as he came, so will he go. So what does he gain from his toiling for the wind? So all his days he eats in darkness and has much grief, sickness, and humiliation. Behold, this is what I myself have seen. It is beneficial and good for one to eat and drink and to enjoy all of his toil that he labors under the sun during the few days of his life that God has given him, for this is his reward. Additionally, everyone to whom God has given riches and wealth and empowers him to eat from it, to receive his share, and to rejoice in his labor, this is a gift of God, for he will not often consider the days of his life, since God keeps him occupied with the joy of his heart. Ecclesiastes chapter 6, Futility of living without God. There is a misery that I have seen under the sun, and it is heavy upon humanity. God gives a man riches, wealth, and honor, so that he lacks nothing his heart desires, yet God does not enable him to eat from it. Instead, a foreigner will eat it. This is fruitless, an agonizing illness. Even if a man should father 100 children and live many years, however many the days of his years may be, yet his soul is never satisfied with his prosperity, and does not have a proper burial, then I say, it is better for the stillborn than him. Even though it comes in futility and departs into darkness, though its name is shrouded in darkness, though it has never seen or experienced the sun, it has more rest than the other. Even if the other man were to live 1,000 years twice and never enjoy good things, do not all go to the same place? All a man's labor is for his mouth, yet his appetite is not satisfied. So what advantage has the wise over the fool? What does the pauper gain by knowing how to walk before the living? Better is what the eye sees than the pursuit of the soul desires. This too is fleeting and striving after wind. Whatever exists has already been named and has been made known to what humanity is, but man cannot contend with the one who is mightier than he. When there are many words, futility increases. How does that benefit anyone? For who knows what is good for the one during his life, during the few days of his fleeting life that pass like a shadow? For who can tell a person what happens after him under the sun? Ecclesiastes chapter 7, Lessons from Mourning. Better is a good reputation than precious oil in the day of death than the day of birth. Better to go to a house of mourning than to go to the house of feasting, since that is the end of all mankind, and the living should take it to heart. Grief is better than laughter, for though the face is sad, the heart may be glad. The heart of the wise is in the house of mourning, but the heart of fools is in the house of pleasure. Wisdom better than folly. Better to hear rebuke from the wise than to listen to the songs of fools, for like the crackling of horns under a pot, so is the laughter of a fool. This too is vapor, for extortion drives a wise man crazy, and a bribe corrupts the heart. Better the end of a matter than its beginning. Better a patient spirit than a proud one. Do not be quickly provoked in your spirit, for anger settles in the bosom of fools. Do not say, why were the old days better than these? For it is not from wisdom that you ask about this. Wisdom is as good as an inheritance, and even better for those who see the sun. For wisdom is a shelter as money is a shelter. But the advantage of knowledge is this: wisdom preserves the life of the one who possesses it. Consider the work of God, for who can straighten what he has bent? In a time of prosperity, prosper, but in a time of adversity, consider. God has made one as well as the other. Therefore, man cannot discover anything about his future. Quite extremes. During my fleeting days, I have seen both of these things. Sometimes the righteous one perishes in his righteousness, and sometimes the wicked one lives long in his wickedness. Do not be overly righteous, nor overly wise. Why confound yourself? Do not be overly wicked, and not be a fool. Why die before your time? It is a good to grasp the one, and not withdraw your hand from the other. From the one who fears God will escape both extremes. Wisdom makes a wise man stronger than 10 rulers in a city. Surely there is not a righteous person on earth who does what is good and doesn't sin. Also, do not pay attention to every word people say, otherwise you might hear your servant mocking you. For your heart knows that many times you too have mocked others. All this I have tested with wisdom, and I have said I determined to be wise, but it was far from me. Whatever it may be is far off and very profound. Who can fathom it? So I turned my heart to understand, to search and to seek out wisdom and an explanation of things, and to know the stupidity of wickedness and madness of folly. I find more bitter than death the woman who is a snare, whose heart is a trap, and whose hands are chains. He who pleases God will escape her, but a sinner will be captured by her. Look, said Kohelet, I have discovered this while adding one thing to another to find the scheme of things, which my soul is still seeking but not finding. I found one upright man among 1,000, but one upright woman among them all, and I have not found. Only this I have discovered. God made mankind upright, but they went seeking after many schemes. Ecclesiastes chapter 8, Wisdom's Light and Limits. Who is like the wise person? Who knows the meaning of a matter? A person's wisdom makes his face shine, transforming the harshness of his face. I say, obey the king's command, and especially in regard to the oath of God, do not be hasty to rush out of his presence. Do not stand up for an evil cause, because he will do whatever he desires, since the word of a king has authority. Who can say to him, what are you doing? Whoever obeys his command will not experience harm. But a wise person's heart discerns the proper time and procedure, for there is a proper time and procedure for every matter, though a person's trouble is heavy upon him. Since no one knows what he will be, who can tell when it will happen? No one has authority over the wind to restrain it, nor authority over the day of death. As no one is charged during a battle, so wickedness cannot rescue its master. I have seen all this while applying my mind to everything done under the sun. Sometimes to one person dominates and another person to his own harm. Then I saw the wicked buried. They used to come and go from the holy place, but will soon be forgotten in the very city where they did this. This too is meaningless. When the sentence against the crime is not swiftly carried out, the human heart is encouraged to do evil. Even though a sinner might commit 100 crimes and prolong his days, yet I know that it will be well for those who fear God, for those who revere in him. But it will not go well with the wicked, and he will not lengthen his days like a shadow, because he does not fear God. There is another enigma that occurs upon the earth. There are righteous people who are requited according to the work of the wicked, and there are wicked people who are requited according to the work of the righteous. I said, this also is meaningless. So I recommend enjoyment, because there's nothing better for humanity under the sun except to eat, drink, and enjoy it. So this joy will accompany him in his labor all the days of his life that God gives him under the sun. When I applied my heart to know wisdom and to observe the activity that is done upon the earth, his eyes not seen sleep either day or night, then I saw all the work of God. No one can comprehend all the work that is done under the sun. Despite all human efforts to seek it out, no one comprehends Even if a wise person claims to know, he cannot really comprehend.